Shalom and welcome to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. This is a recording of a Rosh Hashanah sermon by Rabbi Adam Kligfeld.
I have a distinct memory as a child of being on the bus on the way home from day camp one day. I don't know, maybe 10 or 11 years old. And the bus ride or the minivan ride, it probably took half an hour. It felt like 6 hours because it was the end of a day. I was socially awkward. And this particular van ride, I was just being teased mercilessly. When you're being teased amongst peers, the last thing you want to do is to show your weakness, right? To give them the satisfaction of producing a tear. And I remember the tears welling up and doing everything I could to keep them inside. I remember exactly where the drop-off was. It was at the library in Woodbridge, Connecticut. That's where the parents picked them up. And it felt like an eternity until we got to that parking lot. I got out of that parking lot. I got off the minivan with my backpack. I got into the front seat of my mother's car, and I turned to her, and I looked at her, and I wept. And the tears came out from endless reservoirs of vulnerability. To this day, my mother, may she live and be well, is one of the people in whose presence I'm most comfortable and most capable of crying, and also in whose presence my laughter is most free-flowing and raucous. She is someone who opens up for me the full spectrum of emotions from all the extremes. And the extremes of those moments, both of them, feel tremendous. It's tremendous to laugh fully without wondering if you're laughing too loud. And it's such a relief to be able to cry, because we're all crying all the time inside, but very rarely do we let it out. And she's always been that presence for me, in some ways more than almost anyone else in my life. I was just blessed to spend a few days with my parents in Connecticut. There's some health issues that brought me back, and we had some intense days, and there was laughter to the point of tears. And also because we're dealing with some heavy things, tears that needed to come and felt like a relief themselves. And as I think about what it's like to be in the presence of a person, could be a parent, could be a friend, could be a trusted counselor, you might even experience this in the presence of the Holy One, where everything that you offer emotionally is accepted with grace. Think of a verse from the book of Psalms that I only came across recently. In the book of Psalms, there's some verses that we know so well because they're a part of our liturgy. We sing them over and over again. And it's a large book. There's some verses of Psalms that I'm no problem admitting to you. I might literally have never come across, or if I have, they haven't registered. And this is a verse that if you come to my Learn and Sing on the second day of Rosh Hashanah around 12 or 12:15 in Pilch Hall, we're going to linger on and we're going to sing to a new tune that was composed this year by my dear colleagues, Rabbis Yosef Goldman and Annie Lewis. The verse is, Nodi safarta ata. God, you have counted my wanderings. Everywhere I meander, you know. You know what they are. Sima dimati benodi. God, place my tears in your flask, in your container. Halo basifratecha. You somehow have a record you've written down and are able to hold every one of my tears. Whoever wrote that line is ascribed to King David. Whoever actually was the author probably felt, or at least pretended to feel, in the presence of the Holy One, what I feel in the presence of my mother. However many tears I cry, you can hold them, make space for them. And however much I need to laugh, it will never be too much in your presence. It's an amazing thing to have that as a spiritual reality, to feel that your relationship with the Holy One is one in whose presence all of your tears can come out, and can also be the object of great exultation and ecstasy. We've got both of those extremes throughout the high holiday season. just for a second, think about the relationship between the shofar blow of Tru'ah, which is triumphant, a victory, a military achievement, a new year, health and happiness, and the shvarim, whose sounds and words, the word shvarim means brokennesses, things that are shattered, torn apart. In one instrument, in one moment of the High Holiday service, we're going to be arms raised in victory and glory, and hearts broken because of how hard it is sometimes to be alive. The same shofar is supposed to wake us up and break us down at the same time. We sometimes think, and I certainly think about this ideologically, that it's healthy to find a grounded, illuminated, sophisticated center. I think it's a mistake to assume that we should spend our lives emotionally in the center, unless it's a center that is created as an average of extremes that we're allowed to express freely. I'll share with you a teaching that was shared if you're on the Jewels of Elul listserv that comes out for the holiday season by a man named David Ambrose, who is an activist on issues of poverty and child welfare. He wrote the following: balance supposes there exists an equilibrium that is ideal to maintain a desired state of being. He continues, I'm skeptical that balance is a worthy goal. At each moment of my journey in life, there is always too much or too little of X or Y. That is as it should be if you want to live for the fullest. I nourish myself in the richness of the struggles that I choose to be a part of, and in that I find the payoff that others find in achieving balance. As we launch this year, I bless you with having the capacity to allow this season and this year to be one of extremes, proper extremes, defensible extremes, right? Extremes that stay within the categories of morality and health. But may it be a season and a year where you find yourself constantly in the presence of those people, and maybe even that God who can hold all of your tears, extract your mightiest of laughs, and allow you to live with your emotions fully present, with each moment being as full as it possibly can, with the balance created only in the average of the good and the hard, the joyful and the sad, the laughter and the tears. God can hold all of that.
You have been listening to another in our series of podcasts from Temple Beth Am, a dynamic center for conservative Judaism in Los Angeles. If you enjoy these podcasts, we invite you to write a review on the Apple Podcast site or wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Temple Beth Am Los Angeles, go to tbala.org.